Hello, everybody. As you are starting to roll in to the May 2023 CEDARS statewide webinar, we're going to wait for just a moment to make sure we get everybody in. I see we do have one raised hand here. If I don't believe participants have the ability to unmute themselves in chat or in the Q&A. So if you have any questions prior to us getting started, please use the Q&A to. Okay, so we will talk about that first off. One of the reasons why we're waiting for more people to get in. My connection today seems to be giving some fits and starts. I'm doing my best to talk a little slower than I normally do. And please let us know throughout the Q&A if it gets to be unstable. I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do about that. But if I'm talking as we go through the Q&A, again, recognizing that a little breakup in the communication may occur, I will do my best to make sure our message gets through. And if something cuts out and we miss an entire sentence or two, please use the Q&A to inform us of that. Looks like we've stopped the inflow of folks, the rapid inflow. And a couple more coming in. So I will introduce myself. I'll turn my camera on for just a moment. Hello, everybody. My name is Lisa Ireland. I'm the CEDARS data manager with the Student Information Office at OSPI. I'll be presenting the May 2023 CEDARS statewide today. Due to some instability with my connection, which I don't know why this is occurring, I will keep my video off. It's not out of disrespect for any of you. It's to try and do our best with maintaining this connection. So let's get started. Today, I'd like to start with the tribal land acknowledgement. I'd like to acknowledge the Indigenous people who have stewarded this land since time immemorial and who still inhabit the area today. I'm presenting from the lands of the Indigenous people of the Squally-Apsh or Nisqually tribe. As we are not monitoring the chat today, you are free to enter your land acknowledgements if you would care to, but are not required to. Again, I'm Lisa Ireland. I'm the data analyst or CEDARS data manager from the Student Information Department. Thank you all for joining us today for the CEDARS statewide webinar. Today, we are going to talk about end-of-year enrollment tips and recommendations, CEDARS reviewing data for end-of-year reporting, some resources and questions and wrap up. So I'm going to do a little housekeeping first. Number one, we will be recording this webinar, but it will not be available for several weeks. Starting late this afternoon, I'm going to be out of the office through Memorial Day. And due to some other staff limitations, it will probably take us 2 to 3 weeks to get the webinar posted. Once it is, we will make sure and send you that link. Today, we will be taking questions via the Q&A. I will throughout the webinar to view that. Again, for folks that have come late, I understand that every once in a while, due to some funky interconnection today, it may be a little garbled. I will do my best to speak clearly and not as rapid fire as I normally speak. The good news is this webinar will not take the entire hour and a half. We will have plenty of time for questions and answers, or you can get a little bit of time back in your day. So the important pieces are, we are aware of the sound. I apologize, the graininess or a little in and out. It's not intentional. We will be recording it. We appreciate your patience, as it will take us probably 2 to 3 weeks to get it posted. If it's done earlier, we will let you know. But as always, once it is posted online, we will send a notice to the field and use the Q&A for any questions you have. You can use the chat, but again, due to limited staff at this end today, we won't be monitoring that chat. First of all, we're going to start with the CEDARS end of year enrollment tips and recommendations. So we can see if we can, I don't know if we can put a link to the chat. It's not available to download. I can ask the person who's assisting me today. It's Leilani Tyler, the amazing person who helps run all our show. If we can put a link to the PowerPoint anywhere, or if it will be at a later point in time. But possibly she can send me a message and I will let you know later on. So again, not sure if we'll be able to email that out or if it's available to link to you, but we can try and find out. And it would be great if we can do that, or send once it's uploaded to YouTube to provide you with this, because this is really part of this presentation today is targeted for our CEDARS district administrators. We know you bear the weight of lots of the responsibility in your district for all of the data, but we know you have subject matter experts or program folks who you rely on for this information also. So let's get started. First thing I want to chat about is CEDARS student data cleanup. As you get ready to close out your school year, you want to ensure you're capturing and submitting accurate data for all of your students, including but not to graduates, students who may have been enrolled as a foreign exchange student, and home or private school students. Graduates, and I'm going to take a step back. There are multiple ways students can be recognized as a graduate, and we're going to speak to the different ways and our reporting expectations. Graduate, the most common way we think of a graduate are those who are receiving a high school diploma from your district. And that means earning a high school diploma in the current reporting school year, which is 2022-23. They're submitted to CEDARS with the school withdrawal code of G0, graduated with the high school diploma, and the transcript will display the date graduated. Earning an AA. So if the student has been participating in Running Start through your school district and they obtain a diploma from your district, and I'm going to take a pause. This does not mean homeschool students or private school students who earn an AA through Running Start. It's only your public school students who you've been to graduate that earn an AA through Running Start, and at the same time meet the requirements to be issued a high school diploma from your district. You will submit them to CEDARS with the school withdrawal code of GM, meaning they graduated with multiple diplomas, and the transcript will also display the date they're graduated. They earned an AA through Running Start and issued a high school diploma from the college. Again, please remember, this does not include home or private school students enrolled to participate in Running Start. These are only your public school students, because both the AA and the high school diploma was received from the college, but they did not get a diploma from your school district. You'll submit them to CEDARS with the school withdrawal code of GA, so just the graduated with the associate's degree, because the high school diploma wasn't issued from you, and the transcript will display a date graduated because they did get that high school diploma. Earned an A for Running Start and did not obtain a diploma from your district. They'll get submitted to CEDARS with that school withdrawal code of GA. The transcript will not display a date graduated. And This information might seem obvious, but we're seeing more and more districts when they move to reviewing final adjusted cohort graduation data, they have no graduates or very few. So we're going to talk about this a little bit further into the presentation. We just want to make sure, number one, that all of your staff are comfortable with how to recognize students as graduated, because we do get a lot of questions about those kids that get the AA, but say, no thanks, I don't need the high school diploma, whether you can code them, how to put them on the transcripts, etc. And again, please remember, if a student is enrolled with you with an intent to homeschool on file or confirmation of enrollment in a private school, and they're going to Running Start, they cannot be claimed as graduates in your district, nor do they receive a diploma from your district. And we'll talk about how to code those students. So when your district closes out the current reporting school year and transitions to the next year, and you think you've captured all these graduates, it's important to ensure that in the process, the following occurs. All the students we just spoke about are coded accurately in your student information or SIS, included in your final 2023 submissions. Graduates are not suppressed when you roll over to the new school year. So these are things you're looking to ensure does not happen. A lot of times we hear from districts in the fall, where's all our graduates? What happened? They're not showing up where we expect them to show up. So in your year-end rollover process, it's really important, especially if you're new to these tasks. We know there's various ways in SIS systems that you suppress the graduates or do whatever you need to do to keep them from moving into the new school year. We're going to talk about a way to ensure those students are still reporting in the 2022-23 school year, because when it comes time to review your adjusted cohort graduation data, we want you to be getting credit for all of these students. So we're talking about how you code all these students that are successful, earning their diploma, and how to code them. Now we're going to talk about foreign exchange students. Foreign exchange students are those students that enroll basically in that Rotary program, that J1 visa kids. They come over for a year, have a great time, learn all sorts, and then they go home at the end of the school year. So if the student has obtained a high school diploma, or every once in a while we hear they get an AA through Running Start, you would exit them in the same manner as all of the graduates, and the identical information would be on the transcript. If the student did not graduate, or sometimes we hear they return home during the school year, you exit the student with the school withdrawal code of T3, confirmed transfer out of Washington. On the rare questions about, we have a foreign exchange student, they said they're coming back to school, but they're going to go travel around the US. Doesn't happen very often, but we do get those questions. Those would not be a confirmed transfer out. Those would be because we don't know where they've gone. And I'm going to pause for a moment because it says my connection's unstable. And I'll ask if Leilani or somebody can let me know, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Lisa.
All right, thank you. So whole private school students that are enrolled in your district to participate in educational services. When we talk about educational services, they enroll through one of your high schools to attend courses or a course or multiple courses in district in their enrolled school. They might be participating in a skills or enroll in Running Start. This is an important group of students I want to chat about, because at the end of the school year, it's not a requirement, but my recommendation is that you exit these home or school students with a T2. It's a school withdrawal code of T2, confirmed transfer out to home or private school. And actually that T2 confirmed transfer would also occur if they got up in the middle of a class and left and didn't come back, because that intent to homeschool form which you are submitting information to us in District Student File B, telling us the student's a homeschool student, they can only be transferred back out. You should code dropouts for these kids. They cannot be issued high school diplomas, and if they get an AA, you can't claim them. So confirm transfer out to home or private school. Why is this important? Because you can't issue them a diploma, and if you show them is still enrolled, if they're a member of an adjusted cohort, they're going to show in the denominator, but the numerator is going to be a continuing student. So you want to remove them from your cohorts every year. And I get a lot of questions about, well, they say they're coming back next year. Well, that intent to homeschool form is an annual form. It has to be filled out every year. And you should be confirming the private school student status every year, even though they come back. So for cleaning up your records, it makes sense, at least to me. So number one, let's keep them out of your cohort data, your graduation data. And number two, if they don't come back, you've exited or closed out that school year participation. And if they come back next year, you get that intent to homeschool for the new year or confirmation of private school enrollment. You start their new school and district entry and welcome them back. It's just a cleaner way of managing these students in your systems. Okay, and again, I do apologize if I am cutting out if you came in late. Unfortunately, where I'm working from, for some reason, it is a little windy. Keeps telling me unstable. So I'll do my best again to talk a little slower than normal. And if we need to go back, we can. If it gets incredibly unstable, we do have the option of, stopping the webinar, but I don't want to do that. Okay, so we've talked about our home or private school students. Now, so those are the three sets of students that are, I think, really important and kind of leave you with a clean set of data to start the new school year. We have a lot of other data like program. We get a lot of questions about, do I have to exit all the kids receiving Title I services or LAP? That's a local decision, whether you close out those records at the end of the school year and use that end of school year transition exit reason code. CEDARS does not require that you so, but if it's a recommendation or requirement in your SIS system, obviously, manage those records as you see fit. Because obviously at the start of the new year, you'll be determining who those students are receiving services in the new year. So now what we're going to do is walk through reviewing data for end of year reporting. So attribute and program data submitted to CEDARS is used to meet a lot of data needs, including not limited to end of year applications, such as the adjusted cohort graduation data I was just speaking to, highly capable, LAP or Learning Assistance Program, LAP High Poverty, which lots of you were just involved in, Pay for Literacy, Open Doors, anything you can think about. And attribute data is if the student has a 504 plan, if they have a disability code, even if they're not receiving special education services, is the student homeless, unaccompanied, all those, the pieces of data that make up the story about a student. And when we say attribute, it's a fact about a student. Program data says they're participating in or a member of a program group. And in addition to those things I just spoke about, we use this data to populate Tableau dashboards, report card, which I didn't put on here, which everybody looks at all the time. And we use all these different subgroups or student groups for data, legislative reports and requests, PERC and CTE, and we do hundreds of federal reports, required federal reports every year. And we use the data provided by you to meet these needs. So what I wanted to do today is talk through reviewing them for the year end and also to put importance on all of the work that you do. So the most frequently used reports in CEDARS, because we have some different tools for you to look at the data or to look at and provide out to your staff. And when I say your staff, some of you are rolling on the floor right now because I recognize you wear a hat that has a ton of tags. You are that person that does all of this. For those of you that are fortunate to have a few other team members, or some of you have a lot of team members that help enter this data into your student information system and review the data, it's really important to pass this information on to them so they understand the picture of why and how, their job is really going downstream and all the multiple uses of this data. So again, we're going to look at in CEDARS, there's attributes and programs, enrollment reports. There's a couple different reports in there, state and federal. There's some CTE reports, P210 withdrawal preview report, which I'm thrilled to say is working as expected, and we'll chat about that. Absence records. So we're just going to kind of take a stroll through not every report in CEDARS, but we're going to take a look at a number of them. Okay, so we recommend, in a good and perfect world with all the spare time you don't have, is that you download the various reports in CEDARS a couple times a year. For instance, if it's a Title I Part A targeted assistance program, in a good and perfect world, if you had that spare time, we suggest through twice a year as you download that data and ask those folks providing those Title I services, are all the kids on here? Or, okay, I'm gonna hang on a sec because it told me it's unstable again. So I'm gonna take a pause. Just to identify, because a lot of folks are providing a lot of services to different kids, or identifying that a lot of you have a 5-4 plan that's new and the intent is good. Sometimes, we forget to put data into the SIS. That's why it's important to say, hey, this is the story we have about the students you're responsible for. Is it accurate? As a reminder, and again, this is for the folks that are newer, data identified as incorrect or incomplete comes from your student information system, or SIS, and flows through to CEDARS. So if you identify it's incorrect in CEDARS, we make the big circle, go back to your local system, updates are made in there. And if you aren't the person responsible, you are not the CEDARS district admin responsible for sending the data, you talk to them and say, I updated a lot of my data, we need to resubmit. Any submitted successfully just will be populated to CEDARS the next day. And I'm going to say that with a big however, because if there's a number of submission exceptions, it may take a little bit extra work to get everything loaded. We're not going to speak to submission exceptions today, but if anybody has questions or anything about that, they can reach out to me and I'll be happy to work with you on them. A real short answer is lots of business rules or data requirements for CEDARS. For instance, if you're submitting a homeless record for a student, there are specific valid values that are allowed, like A, B, C, D, I believe are the valid values. So if you submit a 4, that's not a recognized record and would create a submission exception that said, this isn't a valid value, please correct that and resubmit. So that's kind of a high level overview. It's just something that doesn't meet all of the rules to load to CEDARS. So now I'm going to take a quick walk through some of the most frequently used reports. Again, for those of you that might be senior members here. Okay, I just saw something. And again, can you put that record to the Q&A and we'll chat about that in a few minutes. So we're going to review a few of the most frequently used reports in CEDARS. Maybe provide some tips and tricks for some of you that are veteran or seasoned users, and provide helpful pieces for those of you that are new to this. So reports allow, almost every single report in CEDARS allows for selection of school year and organization level. And when we say organization level, say district or school. And I'm going to take a pause because I normally remember to say that when we say district or LEA, we are recognizing that that includes what we call like a standard school district, and also those entities operating as a district or LEA, which is local education agency in Washington. That would be our charters, our state tribal education compacts. We have some ESDs that also operate as a school district, and we have some technical colleges in Washington state that also operate public high schools. So we're also treated as a district or an LEA. So when I speak about these reports, it's available to all entities that submit data through CEDARS submissions. So business rules used in the creation of each of the reports are displayed at the bottom. It's below the criteria selection. Sometimes if the criteria selection is rather robust, you may have to scroll down, but it should be there for each of them. And each of the reports you create in CEDARS can be downloaded in Excel, text delimited, or PDF. Occasionally, I hear from the very large districts that it won't present the number of records on the screen because their file is too large, and it immediately goes to can't display the records you need to download. But most of the reports should display on the screen and then provide you that download opportunity. So one of my recommendations, and maybe it's just a preference, if you download the report in Excel instead of using the text or PDF choice, is that Excel allows the user to sort and filter your records. For example, if you downloaded a pretty good size file, let's say for absences at the district level, you could sort or filter for each of your schools, and using your secure email within your school, send that report out to each of the schools and say, please review this to make sure all your kids are here and that any absences that started out as excused have been moved to excused, because you probably don't want to send the entire file to every single school. So you can sort it. I mean, there's a lot of different features you can do. And let's go to the next page here. So the first report we're going to speak about is the district student attribute report. I'm always surprised at folks that are not familiar with this report. It displays attribute and other student-specific data in district student file B, and we'll look at all the different files available. The district level report, or the summary report, provides the number of students submitted by grade level, ethnicity/race, and gender identification. While we recognize that's not very helpful, for instance, if you're looking at a summary military indicates submitted for all the students in your district, we're going to be working with our IT folks the next year to hopefully enhance that district level summary or the summary report if select district or school, but that summary report. I am happy to say though that student detail provides individual student data, including the attribute or if selected, and if there's a valid value qualification code, it will also display that. So here's a snapshot of where you would find that report. When you're in CEDARS, if you have the CEDARS admin role or report viewer role, you'll see the reports tab at the top, then second menu, and you'll look for the enrollment tab on the left-hand side. When you click on that, it will default to all students enrollment. We're not going to look at that one right now. We're going to look at the district student attribute enrollment report. It will default to the current reporting school year, but you can look at prior school years. You'll select the school or district and then drop down and select your attribute. And if you look on the right-hand side, these are all of the pieces of data that you can look at. I want to point out one thing. We have grad requirement year or expected grad year. The grad requirement year will show you what's currently being reported in your district for the student in the current reporting school year. It does not necessarily identify cohort placement. It just gives you an idea, but right now we just talked about, remember, my recommendation, it's not, but my recommendation to exit your homeschool students and your private school students with a T2. If you're not sure who all those kids are that have been identified that way in this school year, you go look at this report and identify those kids. And remember, even if they drop out in the middle of the school year, they quit attending, get up in the middle of the class for whatever reason, they stop, those students attending with an intent to homeschool or from a private school are T2, from transfer back out to home school. So this is kind of a nice way to start doing some end of year cleanup in here, where you want to look at resident district. All these different things can be viewed in this report. Again, the summary counts, whether you like the district level or the school level. If you do summary, not super helpful. It'll just give you the total N. And if that's all you want to look at the total N of students, total number, that'll work. Student details probably will give you more bang for your buck. The P210 withdrawal preview report. This report can be used to do several things. And I know everybody's cheering in the audience that may have been waiting anxiously. The report can allow you to review students exited in negative status, meaning they were dropped for non-enrollment. Student says, sorry, I'm quitting to take care of my family. For whatever reason, when we call negative status, the report will indicate on or after the exit date you've submitted, they've been enrolled anywhere else in Washington. This allows you to clean up and enter confirmed transfer for those kids. And hopefully you can reach out to them and say, hey, would you like student ACE records? That's always a great one when you can clean that up, and then you're not tracking those students and trying to re-engage them because they've gone somewhere else. Also, we were talking about reviewing your students as graduated in the selected school year. Maybe towards the end of the summer, to ensure after you've rolled over to the new school year that you still have all the graduates you need to be seeing, you can use this report to do a quick spot check, or again, run it by school. Send it to all your different schools if you have people to help you, the registrars, and say, can you look at this and make sure this is everybody we handed a diploma this year or that we knew got an AA through that Running Start program? And again, as a reminder, this report provides graduates by year, not cohort group. I simplified the view we're looking at here. When you go in, you'll see some different features. First of all, again, you'll select your reporting school year. Why I say select the reporting school year, if you're looking at your adjusted cohort data, or you want to know, hey, if anybody left in negative status in the 2022 school year, have they enrolled anywhere else by now so we can update them? So you can select previous school years. Select again by level that you want to view the report, the grade level. You can look at every single grade level or individual grade levels. And I don't know why you'd want to look at the confirmed transfer group, but you can. On the screen, if you're looking at this report, it shows dropout and then school withdrawal codes that go into this dropout group. Dropout involuntarily, dropout voluntary. So you can select under each of those. If you want to look at only unconfirmed transfers, you can do that, or select the group as a whole or all of them. So you can select one or more. Again, you can get a summary report, but all that does is tell you, let's say you selected those negative leavers. You had 12, not very helpful. But the detailed report is the one that I always use when I look at this, and I'm thrilled that it is working. Again, I know a lot of folks use this to clean up data. So if you aren't familiar when you're looking at this report, what the definition or expanded explanation of what those codes are, CEDARS Appendix M provides an explanation of what each of those codes are. And within the the P210 withdrawal preview report, the student details that we just spoke about, here's what will be displayed. The date they exited, the withdrawal status code, And this might also help you look at it and go, wait, we got information, and this is another helpful thing, is send this to your schools and say, we still have an unconfirmed transfer for these kids. Have you gotten a records request through this last year and sent out confirmation enrollment? Because the kids might be somewhere else outside of Washington, or they might say, wait, the student's a homeschool student. We need to up, there's a lot of uses for this report to clean it up at the end of the school year. And the important one that's highlighted is if the student comes in Washington, and this is kind of a fun part, if they've come back but went to another school, so the student maybe dropped out or just quit attending from school A, a couple months later, they come back to school B, school A hasn't updated that yet, that will at least tell you, again, within the same district, you don't update that code, but you see that a lot like, well, it's in my district. At least you can reach out because you know the students over there and see if you can transfer things over. So dynamic attributes and programs. I'll take a pause here and look at our Q&A. So hello, if you're speaking of the cohort graduation data, you'll still use that to review your adjusted cohort graduation data every year, but we look at students that possibly the last time they were enrolled in your district was 6 or 7 years ago. You can go to 6 or 7 years ago in that P210 withdrawal preview report and look to see maybe the student has become re-enrolled in a youth re-engagement program, or they're in another part of the state, and you can reach out A and share their records, and B, you can update those records. And the PowerPoint, I believe, will be shared later on. I'm going to check to see if we have the ability to send this out maybe in the next few days after the webinar. But since I don't have that listserv, I will not make that promise, but we'll ask if that's a possibility. And Sabrina, you're asking core FTP is not working for your district. So when you're talking about the core FTP, you're talking about submitting your file to CEDARS, correct? I'm guessing that's what you're asking. And if so, please send an email to customer support. That'd be customer support at k12.wa.us. And please CC ask. Okay, so please CC ask SI at k12.wa.us, and I will follow up on your behalf. So, and I apologize that you've not yet gotten assistance. We have a limited staff down there, and they are also working very hard, but we need to work very hard to make sure you can submit to CEDARS. So again, please submit an email to customer support at k12.wa.us. In the subject line, say CEDARS Core FTP help needed ASAP. Put something real specific in that subject line. CC me, and again, we'll see what we can do for you. And I apologize for that delay. And Paula, can you ask again, where are those reports located? The P210 withdrawal preview report and the district attribute report, if you're asking about those are within CEDARS. If you do not have access to CEDARS now, so I'll take a step back. We may have a few folks. CEDARS, the Comprehensive Education Data and Research System, which is basically the state's student information system, where we receive all the submissions from all of the LEAs. It's located in the secure login area of the Education Data System, or EDS. And those folks in your district or LEA assigned a CEDARS district administrator role, a district user role, report viewer role, has access to these reports. If you believe you should have access to these reports or to this system, to the CEDARS system, you'll need to ask your district data security manager to assign that access to you. Or if it's determined that's not the role for you, you'll need to determine who your CEDARS person is and ask them to help you create those reports and download them. And if you don't know who your CEDARS person is, you can ask your district data security manager, or you can email me, and my contact information will be at the end of the slide deck. Okay, so it looks like we have. Okay, let me look real quick and then we'll just keep. Okay, looks like we've answered all the questions right now. And thank you for providing those emails in that chat, Leilani. I appreciate you. So she's the power behind the scenes here. So now we're going to speak real quick about dynamic attributes and programs. So basically, any data that's submitted to attributes and programs file I in CEDARS, and we spoke about it at the start of the webinar, an attribute is a fact about a student. They have a disability code. They're identified as an unaccompanied youth. They have a 504 plan. A program is they're participating in a youth re-engagement program, or they're receiving Title I targeted assistance services, or LAP, or highly capable, or if a truancy petition is filed. All of those pieces of data that are submitted in our attributes and programs file I can be reviewed in this report area. So it's pretty handy. So again, you'll select the organization to view, your LEA or school, whichever of the attributes or programs. Unfortunately, you can only select one at a time, in details. So in CEDARS, I didn't show the header up here, and I apologize. Again, you would click on reports, and there's attributes and programs, and dynamic attribute and program is the default report here. So this is what the screen would look like. And at the bottom, it will display those business rules we talked about. But again, if you click here on the attribute or program dropdown, a really long drop-down menu will appear, and you can select whatever you want to look at. Again, summary counts will just tell you the total number of kids. Might be handy for you if you just want to say, we should have 30 kids. Do we have that many in there? But student details is really the meat and potatoes that we go for. If you do that dynamic attribute and program report, provides this information for students. And again, if we look at this, and when we show any of the student details, gender identification or the ethnicity or race, flip, that's the most current information submitted in the reporting school year. And again, the shameless plug, why is this important information to look at? Because pretty soon we're going to be pulling this data for end of year applications. There's quite a few coming up. And a lot of you may not get to, if it's your job, you know, as the CEDARS person or the district level person, you may not know all those kids that received those services or had these attributes assigned to them. And when you think about it, if your school staff goes home here in a couple of weeks, and you're still there in the summer working through this data, and you have questions about if this is the total amount of students, there may not be anybody to ask. And that kind of puts a spoke in your, a stick in your spokes, or it stops you in your tracks. And we don't want that to happen. We want you to be able to just keep moving through and doing your job. So, again, and that's when you explain to your program staff, again, if it's not you wearing every hat, because we know some of you are, you tell them you're the important piece here. You have to make sure that we get the story about all of the students that you're responsible for. Another report that a lot of folks don't seem to realize is available is an absence report. We got a lot of questions this last year about the attendance data, the regular attendance data that's online. And where did the data come from? Well, this is where we pulled this information from. We'll walk you through real quick what it looks like. This is just providing some of the things you can look at: excused or unexcused, full or half day. And there's some cool tools in here you can look at. In the reports, absence and discipline time in absence, the absence report is working great. The discipline report, unfortunately, is not currently functioning. We're aware of that. We would like to fix that one of these days. But if you go to the absence report, you'll click on reports, absence and discipline, and on the left-hand side, you'll click on absence. Again, your school year, the organization level, the as of date. Let's talk about that real quick. In some reports, there's an as of date. Generally, my recommendation is leave the as of date alone. If you have a start and end date, if you're looking at data for a previous school year, you probably want to put your first day of school to a day or two after your last day of school. Or if it's for this year, put your first day of school through the date you're looking at the report. A lot of folks get confused sometimes, like when they're looking at October enrollment data, they put that date back to October, and that's not what you should be doing, because if the business rules tell you we're looking at data for students enrolled on this specific date, etc., we've already done that. Leave that as of date alone. The only time that may change for you is if you're trying to look at your high poverty data, and this is just a quick flyby. If our business rules say we pull the data after the last day of March, you might want to put like an April 2nd date or something, because that'll pretty closely match what's being used by fiscal. And that's just a quick flyby if you have questions on that ever. But 99% of the time, we recommend you leave that as of date where it's at. So unduplicated. What does that mean, Lisa? So if you click unduplicated yes, you're only going to get the students reported as is primary yes in your school. Some folks might be saying, what's his primary yes? Well, if you're the only public school enrolling and serving that student, that means you're the one primarily responsible for their public education in Washington. Kind of simple, right? But if the student happens to be splitting their time between two schools, they might have one school that's primary no, one school that's primary. I always recommend to put unduplicated no, because you're going to scoop all students into that pile. Again, we talked about summary counts a bunch of times. Student details is where you probably want to go. But again, here's the filters. You can narrow it down fairly well. This thing right here, this tool that talks about minimum number of absences, that's a pretty cool tool. You can look at students with all absences, or if you want to, you can say, I want to look at my kids that have 10 or more absences, use excuse, whatever, or everything, or 20 more or 30 more in this school year, because you're doing some activities, you're doing outreach, and you're trying to figure out, how we can engage the students more, et cetera. You can dial this number up from any amount or who's missed the entire year. That's a pretty neat. And again, I get a lot of questions and folks seem to be surprised that this tool exists. Next is records loaded. Okay, no, I didn't. So, okay, so we're going to go back to that in the Q&A. So records loaded. This is another feature that was working really well for a while and then got turned off for some unknown reasons. Records loaded is exactly what it sounds like. For every record within each of, I believe, 20 files now in CEDARS, allows you to go in and look at every record loaded in that file that was successfully submitted. And remember, we talked about submission exceptions. If the records got held back by submission exception, you're not going to see that record, but it was successfully loaded. You can go in. This is where you can look at your discipline data. You can look at your restraint isolation records. You can go to your bilingual file. Any of those files will allow you to download everything. There's two view options: extended columns, yes or no. The extended columns provide descriptors for the specific valid values and qualification descriptions. So I recommend it. It doesn't take up a lot more landscape per se, a lot more screen room. And then again, when you download it, it provides you more bits and pieces to look at. So again, we get a lot of attention on restraint isolation records this time of year. You want to go through, again, send them out to the folks that are tasked with submitting this data and say, is this accurate? Are we missing kids? Because again, You know, if you're asked, somebody's reaching out to you and asking you, and the person from 2 of your schools are now gone, who's got that data? So I know you have a lot on your plates this time of year. Just again, some recommendations that might make life a little bit easier down the road for you. So this is what it looks like. It's a pretty simple report. This data, pardon me, is only available at the district level at this time, because all CEDARS submissions come in for an entire district. It contains school level data, but because the CEDARS submission is at the district level, that's how our IT folks initially created this file. But again, you can download them and look at your data. So as a lab student, you can be in the files A through V. Again, I always recommend that you do extended columns. One other place, I'm going to stop and look at Q&A here. Good question, Lori. So were you aware that the summary counts are flagging a system error? I was not. Rachel, is it all summary counts in every report or in a specific report? And if you notify customer support again that for those that are new to this conversation, our customer support department and our IT department basically had a 100% turnaround in the last 12 to 14 months. The student information office is pretty close to that. There's just a few of us old timers hanging in there. So it might not be getting to the correct people. So to me, again, I mentioned at the start of this webinar, later this afternoon, I'm on Memorial Day, but I promise to look at that and trying to the correct my return. So thank you. And we used to have an end of year attendance report. Are you talking about beloved absence and truancy report? We don't know why that application went away. Somebody else who's no longer here decided that wasn't useful to people. So unfortunately, and we've actually talked about, would it be worth reactivating that data so you could review all of that data? I thought it was a great thing, and you could download all the reports. It used to give your review because you certified or verified all your data. That's what we're hoping, that absence report that's available, while not offering as many pieces in that as that absence, truancy and absence, end of year absence report, or truancy and unexcused absence report. Provide that absence report will provide a lot of the same data. So no, I miss it. I do miss it too, because it was handy. So now for some of you that again have not been in CEDARS or are new to CEDARS, the Students tab, I think, is an underutilized tab. This tab allows the user to search by individual student, again, by school year. You can search by individual school. The really cool feature in here is you can even do a partial name search. My name's Lisa Ireland. You could type in LIS and IRE, and any student that meets those parameters will show up in a list below. You don't have to enter every of information, which we also really like, just student ID, etc. Okay, we will answer your question in a few minutes, Paul. Thank you. So when you first go to the Students tab, there is a blue screen above, and then there's the tan screen down below. The blue above, it's just a preference. I just, the tan screen, it's just how my preference. So you can use it either way. Once you search for a student, you'll be provided a list of matching students. Selected a specific school year will only show the record in that school year, but obviously if you don't, you get that whole laundry list. If that kiddo has been with you for a while, you click on the record you want to view, and what you're presented with is a number of records you can look at. So the information about the student will be provided, and if we start in the Student Information tab, there's all the demographic information, the resident district, serving district, the ethnicity and race reported by the student, the current grade level, start dates, the languages, primary and language spoken at home. All that information is in this student tab. The schedule for students that are in middle school or middle school years, grade 7 and up, middle school and high school, grade 7 and up. Summing up the schedule, you'll see that. Assessment. This is also a cool tab. If you enroll a student, their assessments historically through their enrollment in Washington, let's say a student took the WASL years ago, 4 districts ago, this data will populate. It's not just assessments taken in your school. Student grade history, this is only for those courses taken at high school rigor. It'll be there. Attributes and programs. Remember, we've been talking about this a lot. Well, in this tab, in addition to those attributes and programs, students eligible for free and reduced meals, students receiving special education services, students participating in a bilingual program, or maybe students eligible for English language development services under the Native American, I believe it's the Title III. Forgive me, I'm just drew a blank there. All of these pieces of data are viewable under here. And sometimes you wonder why students not populating to another report. This is a great place to go in and check to see, hey, is that record successfully being submitted here? If not, you might go back to those submission exceptions we've been chatting about and take a peek at those. Absences, you can go and look at individual ones. You don't go into reports and the absence report didn't do it, or you want to review a little deeper information. And student exclusions. You can also look at individual. And if you look at attributes and programs, like, oh, this student has been submitted as being direct certified, because that's been from CEDARS student. You can see all school years students been submitted in your district. What it doesn't do, if you're looking at student, it doesn't allow you to school year and look at a record from a previous district. This is your district specific. Again, as a reminder, if you are not the subject matter or SME, you'll see that acronym everywhere. We all over acronyms in the educational arena. I don't think we realize it, but we really are. So if you're not that expert, this is where you're needing to rely on those others we're talking about. Again, we license smaller and sometimes medium districts. You have to do it all. And we honor and we're sorry, but if you were lucky enough to have other people that you partner with, registrars, the counselors, the program owners, special education staff, those are the ones that you want to draw in and look at this data. And if you need assistance, again, if you're new at this, if you need assistance in how to enter or capture any data in your student information system, or you don't know why it's coming to CEDARS because you think you're putting it in the right area, your student information system vendor support team can assist you with that. Well, I would love to know every piece about your student information systems. We don't have that ability to look into your systems or to know exactly where to put the data. And one of the other things that's really important for those that are newer, we don't ever pull your data in from your system. It gets pushed, depending on your student information system, in a variety of ways to CEDARS. So it gets pushed to CEDARS, we don't get to pull it in. So we had a couple of questions here. Let me go up and look at the Q&A. Oh, have they been answered? Let's see.
Yeah, Lisa, Paula found the answer to her own question.
Oh, awesome. Self-service. Thank you, Paula. And thanks for letting us know. Okay. Oh, gotcha. And that's a good point. If you don't see a student, you're searching for them into the new SSID and you go to search students, which is a report we didn't talk about. It also allows you to search student by student, either A, to see if they've been enrolled before they came to your district or afterwards. If the SSID doesn't work, try doing again a partial name search or by last name and date of birth or first name, because we also have some families that students will hyphenate their last names, and when they move, they may choose to not hyphenate their last name. Or if a student's been enrolled with a preferred name and they enroll in your district with that preferred name, but don't change the SSID, You may find them just by searching by SSID in that search students, and you can find what name they presented as in the other district. So lots of tips and tricks available. But again, if you are not the CEDARS person, reach out to them. They can help you determine if you should have access, or if not, hopefully they will help you getting the data you need to look at. So the resources, the CEDARS documents, and if you go to our OSPI website, the k12.wa.us, you can type in CEDARS. It'll take you to the CEDARS page, data manuals, appendices, and reporting guidance. And some folks are going, what's that? Well, the CEDARS manual is kind of the business manual, or it is the business document for CEDARS. It tells you everything that's required to be submitted by individual file. It gives you a description of that data and the business rules that this must be submitted, or it has to be in this format. The appendices provide a lot of the what we call the valid values. If we collect ethnicity and race data for all students enrolled in Washington, it's a required element. There's a large selection for students, and that's available in one of the CEDARS appendices. You can look at all the choices available to kids. And again, well, students and their families, or if a student has a disability code, the different disability codes to select from. So it provides you the valid values available to submit in the elements. The reporting guidance is just that. It's a user guide that provides a more robust explanation and supporting information about the ask for what needs to be captured in your student information system and then submitted to CEDARS. Also, and this is a document I wasn't aware that a lot of people weren't familiar with, we talked about submission exceptions. If there's a submission exception, again, it just means one of the records didn't meet all the business rules. There's usually a number attached to that exception. That validations document is a very large Excel file that will have that number in there, and it'll tell you, it'll give you a little broader description of why a record was rejected. And for us data nerds that like to track all that, that's to me kind of a fun document. EDS application user guides. They're for end of year reporting. There's documents that talk about non-standard submissions and other supporting documents. And if you need help with any other program need, you want to talk to the attendance office, etc. If you have questions about immunizations, we've been getting a lot of those. Go to k12.wa.us, and in the upper right-hand side, there's an underscored line, and then search, type in what you're looking for, and then click on search. And again, if you can't find anything you're looking for, you can always contact me and I'll try and do my best to connect you with the right people. So trying to thank you. So some folks, their SIS system, their student information system, provides a CEDARS data cross-reference. It's an awesome tool because in your SIS system, they may call something purple. And in CEDARS, we may call it military family. So what that helps is that cross-reference says, Lisa keeps talking about military family in district student file B. So you can search for military family, and then it tells you, well, in our student information system, we call it purple. And it helps you really cross to where and it tells you where it's captured, what the valid values are, and the mapping of that. So you're right. So if you have your SIS system, and I believe a couple of those SIS systems do provide that. So we have final questions and wrap up, and I appreciate your participation today. I'm hoping this was helpful to all or most of you. And if you do have questions, here's reporting guidance. You have questions about the topics we chatted about today. You need a little help walking through areas. Reach out to me at asksi@k12.wa.us, or you can also email lisa.ireland@k12.wa.us. It's one and the same. I manage both inboxes, but you are welcome to reach out to me via either. CEDARS technical assistance. This is where things are a little different now, in that we used to have our customer support would offer a lot of the same services I do, and then some expanded services. The new director has kind of reformatted that team. Currently, they're doing the technical assistance. We had somebody indicate they needed help with that core SFTP. I'm going to help them get connected with the right person. If you need help with a password reset, you have a new district data security manager at the start of the year, they're the folks who are going to help you with all of that, maybe some bug issues. But if you email me and I'm not the right person, I'll help you get connected to them. And I am happy to say they are looking at expanding their services to becoming more of a full customer support team. It's going to take a couple months, but I've been participating in some interviews with them, and they've got some great candidates that we think will step in and be able to build that team up again. So we have some questions. Let me take a look. Oh, is there a list available, all the applications? Okay, so Laura, that's a great question. So Laura's asking, is there a list available of all the applications in EDS due this year? Unfortunately, at this time, there's not. And why that is we attempted a couple of years ago to create this document that said, here's all of the end of year applications, and here's when they're going to open and when there's going to close. And as we all know, when we set a date, it's like waiting for the birth of a baby or the arrival of something from Amazon or something. That never happens when we want it to, unless you've got like that one-day delivery. And then the close dates change. Well, that document wasn't getting updated to be in alignment with those reporting expectations. And we learned the lesson because our districts were trying to hold themselves to that line, and we're getting frustrated because things weren't opening and the closing date was different. And we really thought that was a disservice. So I can tell you, for those of you that normally do the Title I targeted assistance end of year application in Form Package 244, Form Package 244 won't be open this year. It's the data for your targeted assistance kids are going to be sourced 100% from CEDARS. There'll be some other data you're going to be asked to go in and review, and I believe it's in your grant funding package, but the student level information is coming from CEDARS. That's why we're talking about it's really important to look at this data. The K4 literacy application should be open in a couple of weeks. The learning assistance program end of year, LAP end of year, will be open in a couple of weeks. Adjusted cohort, probably midsummer. U3 engagement, we're looking at probably middle of the summer. Highly capable, I believe, through Form Package 250. They're all between now and about mid to late summer. Tableau is where you'll review that adjusted cohort, report card data in the fall. So the list goes on and on about these populations. What we can commit to, Laura, is when the data dashboards in Tableau are being populated, or we have applications coming open, is we will do our best to send notices to the field, to the appropriate folks saying the application's open. And in the Simon newsletter, so Student Information Monthly newsletter, every time a new application or dashboard opens, I'm going to provide that in the Simon. If you don't get the Simon, please email me at asksi@k12.wa.us, not restricted to any group of individuals in your district. You can get those updates and information. So kind of a long answer to the short no, but that's kind of a reasoning behind why we don't do that, because those things change all the time. Yeah, Kelly, I agree that calendar was great, but that was when we had far fewer data pieces, and it kind of, we could follow those timelines. I agree with you. And great question. Are we expecting any changes to the LAP end of year report? Absolutely. This year, you will be seeing some changes in the LAP end of year application. I think the biggest piece is, I think it used to be Grant Package 218. I believe it's going to be embedded in the LAP application. Another reason to be looking at your LAP or Learning Assistance Program data as soon as you can, looking at the LAP growth data. You know, it's going to be tied to a lot of different pieces, your high poverty data. But again, as soon as we have that done, when I get back, we're hoping to have it open for testing, doing a more robust user guide. And I believe there's going to be a LAP webinar on or about the 8th of June. That's going to thoroughly cover everything in that application this year. And when the other applications roll out again, we'll send a notice to the field. Included in those Simon newsletters. Again, let me know if you want to be on that Simon listserv and you're not. I'll be happy to put you on there so you can get those advance notices. And as always, when those end of year applications open, I'm always happy to support people with their reporting questions, reviewing CEDARS data if they didn't, or troubleshooting. Why am I not seeing this kid in here? So that's what we're here for. We're happy to assist you. That's our presentation for the day. I'm going to take a pause. Thank you so much. This went a little bit longer than I planned, but I wanted to make sure I was talking slow enough that I didn't break up too badly. And I'm available for other questions, or you can have a half hour back in your day. And Tina, can you send an email to me at asksi@k12.wa.us and ask me to put you on there? I'll put you on the listserv as soon as I can, and you'll begin receiving that newsletter in June. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. And thank you all for being with us today. We appreciate your participation on this Thursday afternoon. Thank you all. Appreciate you being here. I know how busy you are. And I have to say, for those of you still on here, I really honor how hard you work and everything you do for all of your students. I can't honor you enough for all you do. And if I can do anything to make things easier for all of you, let me know. That's why I love my job, is all of you in the field. So thank you. Go forward and have a wonderful day. And again, we'll send you a notice when this is posted to the field. All right. Thank you, everybody. Again, I do appreciate you. And we can stop recording.